Hi, it's Sandy, and today I'm bringing you my April TBR. In April, I am taking part in the Tomes and Treasures readathon. It is inspired by Dungeons and Dragons and is being hosted by Gem and Smash. I will tag them down below as always. And yeah, basically this is the start of the campaign style thing. I know so much about D&D. Basically this is the point where you're creating your character and things like that. So they've done so much work to give you like all the stuff you need. So I'm not going to try and explain it because I know nothing. I will leave it to Gem and Smash to explain it all in their videos. They've done, like, there's Google Forms, which I've got over here so that I can look at it and do my TBR. And there's like appendices and stuff like that. So all the information you need is very easy and accessible. It's all there. But basically I'm just going to tell you my details and what books I've chosen and how I've built my TBR this month. There are a few books I've had to try and get onto my TBR this month, and thankfully the prompts are nice and vague enough that I've been able to get my TBR kind of exactly where I want it, which is really, really handy for a readathon because a lot of the time there's always that one prompt that you just can't get a book to kind of like shoehorn into it, and I always hate that. You'll have to excuse my like just general today. My body, as if you've watched my last vlog, has decided that it's just had enough of me and has decided to just do away with me, apparently. I'm also in my Hamilton hoodie because it's comfy and cozy and warm, and that is the vibe of today. It's a miserable, horrible day. I feel like hell, but we carry on. So this is what you're getting today. I am nothing if not real with you all when it comes to just being a mess. So yeah. I feel like normally I have a lot more spiel at the start of my videos, but honestly, I feel like I'm just going to get right into the TBR. So for my character, I have named her Eritrea. It is a name that I've used for Aurelium as well, and I just really, really like the name. I did not know Eritrea is also a country until recently, but I nicked the name from Terry Brooks. This is the Elf Zones of Shannara. There is a character in here who is an elf princess, and she is named Eritrea. And I really liked her as a character. I really like the name, and so I will be nicking this name off you, Terry, to use for my character. Like Eritrea from the books, I have also chosen to make my Eritrea an elf. Elves have always been one of my favourite races in fantasy worlds, be it in Tolkien, be it in Shannara Chronicles, be it in, you know, a lot of things. I really like elves as a race, and so I have chosen the character to be an elf, and the prompt for that is to read a book with a beautiful cover. This is one I really, really need to get onto my TBR this month, and that is Threadneedle by Carrie Thomas. Like, you tell me that's not a beautiful cover. Like, there's actually stitching detail on it in gold. It's so beautiful. I need to get this on. I have pre-ordered the sequel to this that comes out in May. And I'm just lucky it got pushed back to May because it was meant to come out in April, and I've still not read this yet. And I've pre-ordered the sequel. Like, I know we all do stuff like that, like stupid stuff like that, but like, I didn't buy this. I just got handed this with like, I think you'll like this. And then I decided to pre-order the sequel. But why? So I need to read this to decide whether or not I'm going to cancel my pre-order or actually like let it arrive. So yeah, I was planning on reading this earlier in the year and it just got away from me. So yeah, that'll get me my starter of my race being elf. Words. I know words. The next thing you have to choose is your class, and for my class I've gone for Ranger. Again, I really like I really like the Lord of the Rings movies. I always watch the extended editions, and I will always like start up in the morning and watch like the full 3 of them back to back to back. I absolutely adore them, and one of my favourite characters in that is Aragorn, and he is a ranger, and I just love that like stealthy in the woods. Like, I love everything about his character, and so being able to choose that as a character, I just had to. There was no, when I saw it was a choice, I was like, yes, this is what I want as a character. So yeah, my elf Eritrea will be a ranger. And the prompt for that is to read a book that features hunting. And for that, I've chosen Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder. I've also chosen this because in April it is the book for the Chronicles of Ixia read-along. Can't even say it, and I'm the one who is hosting it. Tori and I are hosting the Chronicles of Ixia read-along. We'll be doing a book a month starting in April with Poison Study. If you want to join us, there is more than enough time. The live show won't be until the end of, well, not even the end of April, it'll be the start of May. So you've got plenty of time to read this. It is on KU. It is easily available on Kindle and other places. It is probably available at the library because it is an older series. I think it's early 2000s, 2005. So it should be available in quite a lot of places. There is also a announcement video for that. I will pop it down below as well for you to go and watch if you want to join us. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So that will be exciting. And it's good that it gets me in my class as well. Next is my background. And for this, I've chosen to go with an Outlander character. So a character that kind of stays on the fringes of society and doesn't really interact with people. I mean, I wish. Introverted, doesn't really want to be around people. I don't have a choice. I have to be around people. But like this character, I always like see her as being someone who like lives out in the woods and the mountains and just like kind of like think like Highlander back in the day. You just like, you're out in the mountains, in the forests, in the woods, and you live by the land, and you're silent in the woods, and like, you know, that sort of, that's what I'm thinking for this character. And so Outlander is the background that I've chosen for this character, and the prompt for that is those who wander and travel alone, often in the outskirts of civilization. And have I missed some of that prompt? No. Okay, I'm just being silly. It's fine. And so that's the kind of vibe for the book. That's what it is. I'm unwell. Give me some. Let me cook. Okay, let me cook. And for that, I've chosen a book that I had to run it by Gem and Smash just to be like, can I choose this? Because it's just too perfect. It's too perfect. And that is Waypoints by Sam Heughan. Now, those who get it, get it. Those who don't, I will explain it to you. Sam Heughan is the actor who plays Jamie Fraser in Outlander. Jamie Fraser is a Highlander from 1700s Scotland. Outlander is a book written by Diana Gabaldon, and it's about a nurse called Claire who goes back from post-World War II Scotland back to the 1700s. By mistake, by touching some standing stones, and ends up banging into, not quite, I don't think she runs into Jamie at first, runs into somebody else, and then, like, as she's running from him, then runs into Jamie Fraser, and just, we love Jamie. And Sam Heughan is the guy that plays him. Sam himself is from Dumfries, and he is really, really big on hill walking and Monroe bagging. And Monroe bagging, by the way, there's a certain kind of, like, hill and mountain in Scotland called a Monroe, and it has to be like, Monroes are like, they're too big to be considered hills, but they're not tall enough to be considered mountains. There's like a height requirement for a Monroe, and there's this thing called Monroe bagging where you peak the Monroe, like you climb to the top of it and you've bagged that Monroe. So he likes to do that. He likes to go solo hiking and stuff like that. And this is a non-fiction that he has written, kind of part memoir, part sort of, I don't even know what you would call it, but like part of it he's talking about his life, and then part of it he's talking about the history of Scotland and the landscape of Scotland, all while he is trekking along the West Highland Way, which is the route that goes from sort of Glasgow up through the Highlands on the west coast of Scotland. It is kind of like Wild by Cheryl Strayed, so it's like a very small version because the Pacific Northwest is Pacific Northwest Pacific, whatever it's called. The route that she did is obviously much, much longer because it takes months. The West Highland Way only takes you like, depending on how fast you're going, it doesn't take that much longer. Like the forces used to do a race called the West Highland Way in a day, where like the Navy, Army and RAF would race each other, and they would go from one end to the other in a day. Like they had 24 hours to get from one end to the other to raise money for charity. Could not be me. But yeah, so he's walking from the start to the end of the West Highland Way and kind of talking about his life and the landscape and the history and the people, and just sort of meandering, as he's meandering, talking about things. It's just, I love this sort of thing and this reflective sort of kind of book. And I've read non-fiction books by Sam before. He usually does them with another Scot, but this one is just his on his own, and it is him wandering through mountains, trekking through mountains on his own, trekking through like countryside where there are no other people around, on his own. So it fits for the prompt. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking about this because this has taken up more time than the last two books combined. Next is for the character's upbringing environment, and for that, probably no surprise, I've chosen the mountains, and the prompt for that is just to read a book set in the mountains. And this month in March, because Siobhan was reading Flawless, it kind of got me. I ended up rereading Flawless in like a few hours. I just like, I would have one-shotted it if it wasn't for the fact that it was like 1 a.m. So like I read it, and I read the last 100 pages in the next morning. And so I'm continuing with that, and I'm reading Heartless by Elsie Silver. This is the second book that follows the oldest brother, Cade, and Chestnut Springs is set in it's not a plain, but it's not in the mountains, but it's at the foot of the mountains, and so it is still in the mountain, like they are within the mountain range, but it just so happens that their ranch sits at the foot of the mountains, but the town and stuff like that as well is in amongst all the mountains, and they have to cross the mountains to get to like the next town over and stuff like that. So Chestnut Springs is set within, the area is in the mountains, like they're surrounded by a ring of mountains. It just so happens that they are like, particular ranch is in a particularly flat bit of that mountain range, which makes sense if you know like the mountains and stuff like that. Anyway, that fulfills that. I'm going to stop rambling and get on to the next one. Next is to pick your character's deity, and for that I've picked the God of Nature. Of course, I'm picking a character who is, likes to be alone in the woods and the mountains, and the God of Nature just seemed like the most apt god to choose for her, and so that is simply to pick a book with nature on the cover. For that, I've chosen Just Like That by Nina Kay. As you can see, there is some grass and a tree on the cover. Nature. This is about our main character, whose name I don't know, and she ends up having to care for her brother after he has a sudden stroke, and ends up somehow in Edinburgh. I don't know if she starts off in Edinburgh, but she ends up in Edinburgh, and yeah, it's a romance. It's supposed to be funny, and it's an enemies to lovers. This is one of the ones I bought when I just bought a whole load of romance, and yeah, it was just calling to me this month, so it will get put on the TBR. Next up was to choose your character's alignment, and this is one where you kind of like you could choose like one or two. So like, how you've got the thing where it's like good, chaotic good, like you know what I mean, that Planet Square thing, and so for this I've chosen chaotic neutral. It gave like there's a list of things that are like, it tells you what it means to be each of these different things, and that just seemed to fit what I had in my head for my character the most. So chaotic neutral is just like what seemed to fit her character most, and for that it was to read a book with orange and white on the cover. I did originally have another book for it, but I just didn't. I felt like I was going to struggle to read it, so it is still on my TBR. It's just not a required reading, and I've picked another one for my required reading that I'm more excited to read, just so it doesn't feel like a punishment. if that makes sense. But that is Lizzie Blake's Best Mistake by Maisie Eddings. And as you can see, there is some orange, and white. So it does fulfill that prompt. There's orange and white on the cover. And this is a romance by Maisie Eddings. I've read one Maisie Eddings book before and loved it. She wrote A Brush with Love, I believe it was, which was about dental students. And I loved it. I thought it was great. It was so funny. And yeah, I'm not 100% sure exactly what this is about. I do know that the main character is disabled. She has ADHD and I think EDS. I know there are 2 other Maisie Eddings books. The other one's coming up. Spoiler. And I do know that one of the books, the character has EDS because Maisie Eddings herself also has EDS. But I don't know if it's this one or if it's the other one. But somewhere, one of them has EDS. But it does say on the back here that she has uncontrolled ADHD. So that should be interesting. I do trust Maisie Eddings because I have read a book from her before, because I had a bad experience with an author that I really thought was going to be like a really good read, and I don't want to think about it anymore. So yeah, I'm really excited for this. I'm really, really excited for this. This is one that I'm dying to get to, so I'm putting it on the TBR so that I can prioritise it. And the next is to pick my armour. And for the kind of character that I am, so that, again, Gem and Smash will explain it better. For the kind of character I am, because I'm not a magical person, I'm the other kind, and I can't remember what that's called. I can only have certain kinds of armour. And because I want to be somebody who can like sneak through the woods and not be heard, I've gone for light armour. And for light armour, you want a book with a light or pale cover. So the prompt is a book with a light or pale cover. And I've taken my other Maisie Eddings book, which is the +1. So this is all kind of like pastel toned colours. So you've got like the pastel green, like the pastel pinks up here, pastel pinks and stuff like that. So it's a majority pale cover. I would argue, I think this is a pale cover, like, because you can see the difference between like the dark, mostly pale cover. You know, I think it is a mostly pale cover. Anyway, again, this is another Maisie Eddings book. These do say that this is A Brush with Love 2 and 3. I can't remember which order it's in. So I don't know if they're connected or not. I will find out, I suppose, as I'm reading them. It might be like what with the Ali Hazelwood books, where they're not connected per se, but the characters do exist in the universe, if that makes sense. Becca will know what I mean, or if you've read Ali Hazelwood, you'll know what I mean. But like, do you know what I mean? Anyway, again, don't know what this is about. I think this is a fake dating at a wedding trope. I don't know. They look like they're at a wedding, and I'm pretty sure I read that it was fake dating. So yeah, and I love the fact that Ali Hazelwood's blurb says authentic, emotional, and intensely romantic, like a Taylor Swift song in book form. Like, that's what Ali Hazelwood had to say about this. Are you kidding? And like, can we just like, right? Can we just, Maisie Eddings, right, has been blurbed by Rosie Dannon, who I love. Helen Huang, we'll give her a pass on that last book that she wrote because I do love her other books. Rosie Dannon, who I love. Helen Huang. And Ali Hazelwood. All authors that I love. I've not read any Rachel Lynn Solomon or Chloe Lees. Yes? I don't know how to say her surname. I'll have to figure that out. But I now want to, because if they're always blurbing each other, I want to read more of those books. That's not the point in this video. But just keep that noted, Andy. Yeah, so that will do for light pale cover. Very excited to read this. These have been trying to get on TBRs, but they've just not been getting on TBR. So I'm making a point to like bump them up to the top of the list. Next is one that after the accidental trigger that I hit myself with in the summer I turned pretty, I may not be happy with myself after this, so we shall see. And that is next we're choosing some weapons. So I think you can choose more than 2 weapons, but the thing has space for 2 weapons. So I'm gonna go with 2 weapons for now, and then at the end of the month, if I have more weapons, then we'll see. So weapon 1, I've chosen a piercing weapon. Because like I don't want like a big brandish. There's choices. I've made my choice based on the fact that I want to be quiet and swift and like and I've gone for a short bow because I just want a bow. I might go for like a dagger later on, but like for now we'll go for a short bow. Like I need to be like a quiet hunter, and for that it's Pierces Your Heart, a book that will make you cry. And for that, I've decided to put on my TBR Walking on Sunshine by Giovanna Fletcher. It is the only Giovanna Fletcher book that I own that I have not read. And it's getting beyond a joke. This book came out. Oh, I got this for as a spippy. The spippy thing when we were trying to escape the murder house. This book came out in 2021. And I'm not ready yet. This is one of the oldest books on my TBR. Because I got this when it came out. Like when it came out in paperback. Did it even go hardback? Anyway, this is the only Giovanna Fletcher book that I haven't read the minute it hit my hands. I love her books. And it's because this is about a friend group and the aftermath of one of them dying. And just kind of like how the others put themselves back together after losing someone like that. And again, it's been over a year now that I lost my friend to cancer, and it's still, grief doesn't ever make sense. You can't run away from it. It will wait. It doesn't need to catch you. It's like one of those it's like watching one of those American horror movies where like the person that's being chased is running and like the guy in the mask is walking, and yet they always catch them. That's what it's like. It doesn't matter how fast you run away from it. It will get you. And it will get you in ways and get you in places and get you at times that you don't really need to, like, it doesn't, you don't expect it, Something will happen and you'll be like, oh, they'll find this funny, or like you want to tell about it and then you realise you can't. Or, you'll be reading a book and like, like with the Samaritan Prey, something will pop up and you're like, great, okay. Or like this, like the other book that I was reading where like it was a friend group, and then like one of them unexpectedly dies, and it's the aftermath of like that happened. Like again, I read that book literally like a month after she died, and it was just like, and so I know like this is in the synopsis, like because the other synopsis of the other book, it was like two friends spend the night together and their lives change in a way that nobody expects. And I was like, oh, so like they have like a one night stand and it ruins their friendship. No. They wake up the next morning, turns out one of the other friends had been hit by a car. What? Put it on the damn freaking back of the... What? Anyway, this one at least puts it on the back of the book. Like, that the friendship group is rocked when, like, one of them dies. Like, save me from publishers who can't put stuff in the books, honestly. Yeah, so... I know this is going to break me. But it's also sitting there on my TBR like a black cloud. And I need to just like get it over with now. So put it on the TBR. I know it's going to make me cry. I'll fulfill the prompt. Got to be worth a short bow in some hours, Yeah, bring it back round. Anyway, I'm losing the track of this video, so let's get this back round. For my second weapon, it is a slashing weapon, and I've decided to go for a hand axe. Very handy in the woods, because there's trees and stuff. You might have to make like, to cut like firewood, or make traps, or snares, or, things like that. Hand axe. Hand axe, it's small, easy to carry around. Things like that. see, I've thought it through. And that is a book that slices through the others, a book that would get you out of a reading slump, or a refreshing book. And for that, I've picked Immortal Angel, and this is a reread. Basically, I'm working my way through my Lindsay Sands books again. There are 30 odd of them, and I only have 6 left to read. And there should be another one next month coming out, I think. Is there another one in April, or is it? There's either another one in April, or we're going to have to wait till September again. Normally she releases 2 a month. I always do this. 2 a year in April and September. And I've been rereading them because I want to, basically. And this is the one I'm up to. So yeah, that is going to be that one. So this is one of my favourite series ever. It's kind of like a sci-fi fantasy series about these vampires who exist because they're like ancestors, some of them are still alive, come from Atlantis, and in Atlantis they were technologically advanced to the point where they created these tiny bio-nanos and used people as guinea pigs, and the bio-nanos were programmed to bring these people to their peak health and then stop working. Unfortunately, people are never at their peak health. You're always being, something's always damaging your body, be it polluted air, be it sunlight, be it aging, all these different things. Just your body's processes are constantly, we're always dying, basically. If you're living, you're dying. And so computers think literally, and they never stopped working. And that wasn't a problem in Atlantis because they didn't realise what was happening yet. And these things use blood to fuel themselves and to duplicate themselves and all of that sort of thing. Not a problem in Atlantis. They had blood banks, they had blood transfusions. But then Atlantis fell. And when Atlantis fell, the only people who survived were those with the nanos. And when they crawled over the mountains, they discovered that their lives were never going to be the same because the people that they found there were basically hunter-gatherers and they did not have technology. And so the nanos forced an evolution in them to make them the best hunters, the best predators. It gave them better night vision. It gave them the fangs to get the blood. It gave them what you and I would now recognise as vampire abilities: speed, better senses, better everything. It heightened them. And it gave them the ability to read and control their prey's minds. And so they were able to sort of live, and then they started realising that they were immortal and they didn't age. And this follows these people now. It's set in the present as they were written, and now obviously she's still writing them, so it's more in the present. And because they can read and control minds, they can also read and control each other. And so the nanos also have this thing where they find life mates for these people, and life mates are kind of what it sounds like. It's fated mates, basically. It's their lobster. That's a French reference. And so they mate for life, and the nanos are never wrong. These mates are always perfect mates. They are always it's always going to be a perfect relationship. They will never cheat. They will never, it will never go wrong in any way. They will always be perfect partners. They will always respect each other and just be there for one another and be, it just is. It's just, it's hard to describe, but you see it throughout the books as you go. They explain it. She explains it so much better. But some of the ways you recognise this is that you can't control or read their mind. That's one of the identifiers, because if you could control someone, you would, basically, and that wouldn't be an equal pairing. And it's also this oasis, because if you can hear thoughts, it's kind of like having 100 radio stations tuned on at all times, and when you go home you want that place to be relaxing almost, and that is who your life mate is to you. They are your oasis, your safe place, and that's how we feel about our partners now, as well. That's how you should feel. You should feel like you want to go home to that person. And that is kind of how these people are. They are the balm to your day. They are your person. And so each of these books follows a different character as they find the life mate. Sometimes the life mate may be another immortal, but there's something happening in the way that like stops them from getting together. It may be that they're a human, and then there's the whole got to tell them about vampires sort of thing, but they don't like being called vampires because vampires are a whole different thing. Vampires don't exist in this world, like the soulless cursed thing. And it starts off with this family called the Argenou family, which is why it's called the Argenou series. And it goes through the four children, and then cousins, and then family friends, and then like, and it just expands. This world just expands, and you see like these characters all come back and forward and like dot in and out of, and it just continues to expand. And all the books have the same formula. All the books, like there's no thought that goes into the plots of these books. They all have the same plot. There's no difference. Like you meet the characters, they meet each other. They realise, like, one of them realises at least that they're life mates. They then figure out they have to tell the person. They start to do the whole courting thing. Something happens. They kind of have sexy times in some capacity. They're like, no, we shouldn't, like, we can't be together. This is weird because, like, humans don't understand or mortals don't understand the whole, like, thing. And then they're like, then they have like a near-death thing, whether it be like somebody kidnaps them because they think they're a vampire, or like there's stalking involved in some of them, or there's like a car accident, or like, you know, some kind of like near-death experience. And then they're like, oh my god, how did I ever think I could live without you? And then they live happily ever after. That is literally pretty much book for book what happens in some form or another, with like other flourishes around it. But the characters, oh my god, I love the characters. And she's so funny. She's so funny. Anyway, I'm going to stop gushing about these books because that's all I do is gush about these books. Like, these, so many people would just see these as like trash, like fast food style, like sweetie books. But they are some of my favourites ever. And I will never stop reading them until she stops writing, so... But yeah, so that's why they are my Get Me Out of My Slump book, because this is what I turn to, because I can read them like that and it will always make me feel so much better, and it will get me out of any kind of reading slump. And lastly is the skill test. And I know Jem is really stressed about this, because the skill test, so the skill test, you're meant to roll like a d20 and have like a list of 20 books and like mix it up, things that you want to read, things that you don't want to read. I'm going to do my jar pick as my skill test. And this is particularly stressful because Fragile Threads is still in here. And that doesn't just mess my life up. That messes Jem's life up. And Tori's. And Siobhan's. And probably other people's. But yeah, so I'm not going to tell anybody until they see this video what gets picked. So it might be Fragile Threads, and everybody will cry. So let's see what this is. It's so funny. What have we got? Who have we got? If it says Jem, that means Fragile Threads. Oh, I can't read backwards. Becca. Becca here to save the day. I want to say that's Furyborn. Let me just check. Okay, so yes, Becca's pick was Furyborn by Claire Legrand. Claire Legrand, I cannot say her name. So you can all take a sigh of relief there. I have actually read Furyborn before, but it was years ago, and it was an audiobook, and I cannot remember. There was something about two queens, and there was a castle. Yeah, I read it when I was really not into fantasy, and I want to read it now when I'm getting into fantasy. That's why it's on my 12 and 12. So yeah, Becca really likes this. I think I'm more likely to like it now. This is an arc because someone I know was getting rid of an arc, and I was like, do you know what? Before I go and buy the book, I will read this and see how I feel. So Becca, this month I'm reading Furyborn. And yeah, hopefully this time I enjoy it. Now that I can kind of understand, I feel like I'm understanding fantasy a lot better. I feel like I'm understanding fantasy a little better. But yes, it's not fragile threads. You can all take a deep breath and out. Here we go. It's okay. It's okay. But yes, that is my skill test. And as always with my 12 and 12, it is 12 books and 12 prompts. And so my prompt for Becca is, of course, read a romance. And I do actually have 3 romances in my stack already. Should I add another romance into my stack, or should I just... I actually have more than 3 romances in my stack. I actually have like 5, but I want to just keep it to my TBR. Should I grab another one, or should I add another book? What I'm going to do is be kind to myself, because I'm ill. I'm going to be kind to myself and just use one of my existing romances that's on my TBR as my book for Becca's prompt. So it'll be just one of the romances, either The Plus One, Lizzie Blake's Best Mistake, or Just Like That. They will be my romance for Becca's prompt. If I manage to get through all of them, all of my books, and have time to read another one, I will pick a romance to add to that prompt. Now, I do have 2 more books that I want to get to that are not on that TBR, so I will just tell you about them as well. The one that almost ended up on that TBR is Atalanta by Jennifer Saint. So as you can see, it's orange and white. I almost had this for that one, but I'm just not having a great time with Greek retellings since Read It and Stone Blind. It really put me off them. But I kind of want to try and read this month because Daughter of Sparta was such a win. So I'm kind of trying to ease my way into it. Again, this is kind of sitting like a cloud over me, and so I want to at least try it. If I end up not liking it, what's my hair doing? If I end up not liking it, fine, fair enough. But I just want it off my cart one way or the other. You know, this follows the story, I'm assuming, of Atalanta, who is a Greek figure that I actually don't know who she is. So this will be interesting. There was so much praise for it. And also, it was Jennifer Saint. I've really been enjoying Jennifer Saint. It was Natalie Haynes that did me dirty, so hopefully Jennifer Saint continues on with me enjoying her books. And lastly, the book that I wanted to get on like March's TBR that ended up not getting... I don't think I'm going to get a chance to read it. It's the 27th today, and I've still got 2 more books to read from my TBR. I don't think I'm getting this on it. Is The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden. This is the Beautiful Waterstones edition, and I just don't think I'm going to manage it in March, and so I'm tacking it on to my April TBR. I really enjoyed the Winter Night trilogy, and so I really want to read this. It is a World War I historical fiction, kind of magical realism, fantasy-esque type thing. I'm not entirely sure. But it follows a nurse whose brother goes missing on the front, and she goes to find him, and there's something about ghosts. That is what I know about it. I am basically going off of the fact that it is Catherine Arden and it is World War I historical fiction. That is literally what I'm going off of. And it's blurred by Diana Gabaldon. Oh my god, Diana Gabaldon. Can you tell it's getting to the end of the video? Yeah, and it's so beautiful. I couldn't not. When I saw how beautiful it was, I had to buy it, and that is terrible. That is not a reason to buy a book. I am such a bad example. Such a bad example. So there we are. That is my TBR for April. Let me know if you are joining in the Tomes and Treasures readathon, and if you're reading any of the books that I'm reading just by chance, like perhaps maybe Poison City, if you're also joining in the Chronicles of Ixia read along. I keep calling it a readathon. I need to stop that because it's my own read along and I need to call it the right thing. Yeah, just let me know down below if you're joining in any of those. Like I say, they will be linked down below if you want to go over to Gem or Smash's channel to join the, I like to call it TNT readathon, or if you want to, I'll leave the link for the announcement video for the Chronicles of Ixia read along if you want to join us in reading the Poison Study books and beyond. And yeah, I am very excited about next month. I am really excited for this TBR. Like, I'm looking at it and it's one that I'm excited about. So that is a good start. That is a really good start. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. If you got this far in the video and you want to let me know you were here, leave me a musical instrument emoji. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!